Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. NBA Friday here. Got 10 games on the slate, twice the amount that we had on Thursday. I stayed away completely on Thursday, so no bets on the card from today that I need to show you guys. Going to be saving all of that time and energy to get into the slate here on Friday. I dove deeply into 5 of these games, so I'm bringing you all the matchup data that you need, plus the bets that I am going to be looking to play on Friday. Not doing overnights, like I've told you before, but I'll be looking to get these numbers down on Friday, as long as we can still get some of these valuable lines. But if that all sounds good, go ahead and give this video a like. Let's get right into it. You know we're going to be using Props Madness like we always do. Be sharing my screen here in just a minute. But as we get into the first game of the night here on Friday, I do want to remind you guys, I'm going to be bringing you this matchup data where we see who is guarding whom in each of these games, because it's too crucial to just skip over it, and for me not to have something visual for you to look at, as it can get a little bit confusing. So when you look at the way the Magic and the Wizards are going to match up here, a couple injuries that we should at least discuss briefly. Cole Anthony's still questionable. His minutes have been super limited, and he's been out a lot, right? Even when he has this questionable tag. So pretty strong chance he's not in there at all. And then Corey Kispert done for the season. So is Koulibaly. And then Marcus Smart is going to be out in this game as well. But a couple guys are going to be back. And the matchups, the way that I see them going here, we've got the Magic. KCP is going to be guarding Poole. Wagner and Keyshawn George going up against each other. Corey Joseph and Chris Middleton here looking like they'll be going up against each other. And then Banchero, and I got to imagine Champagny is going to be out there. They don't really have another good matchup. And if they start like AJ Johnson or Bub Carrington, they're toast. So I would imagine that they're going to play Champagny to start so that he can get out there against Banchero. And then Wendell Carter Jr. and Alex Sarr will match up. So what do we do with these things? There's not much we can do with the matchup data for this game. So it's a little weird to bring this to you as the first one. But what we can surmise here as we look at Props Madness is that Jordan Poole probably isn't going to get very many minutes. Let's just look at the last 2 games here for Jay Poole. And you can see here, I got points and assists up as the prop. He had 10 points a couple games ago in 11 minutes, 9 points in 11 minutes there. And then he had 2 points in the last game here, going 1 for 11 from the field against the Jazz. Took 11 shots in 20 minutes, but the key here is 11 minutes and 20 minutes for him in the last 2 games. And we're going to have some guys back. He played 20 in this last game against Utah. I would imagine he plays closer to 15 once again, as we're going to see Chris Middleton is back. You've got Keyshawn George back and a couple other guys that missed in the last game for the Wizards. So I am going to be looking to fade Poole here. But again, not much to do with the matchups. There's not really a good matchup on either side. The Wizards not really trying to win, playing everybody less than 30 minutes. Like nobody is getting 30 minutes. Even Alex Sarr, who had a great game in this last one against the Jazz, 22 points. Just 23 minutes that he played. So I'm not really looking to project too many overs in this game, but I am going to be looking to fade Jordan Poole if we can get the points and assists up at about 17.5, looking to go under on that for sure. Quick reminder too, if you do want to get in on Props Madness and do not yet have an account, you can jump in for a free 7-day trial there. Use code LYB when you go over to the site to sign up. You can also use that code to get 25% off your first month. And I cannot stress that this is the #1 sports betting research tool for the NBA and hoops action in general. We'll be using this for the WNBA when we get to the ladies as well. Next game, we've got Houston in Miami, and the injury report here is going to be we don't know what's going on yet with Andrew Wiggins. I've got him listed in for now, but we're not sure. The other thing on the other side of the ball is the Rockets get Amin Thompson back. He's listed as probable in this game. I don't know that he's going to start, but he does have props up before like Jabari Smith or Tari Eason, so it's likely that he is going to start once he's back and play probably like 30 minutes, maybe 25. Not sure exactly what to do with him, but a couple things we can do with the matchup here. Fred VanVleet and Duncan Robinson probably going to be matched up because Duncan is a terrible defender, and that's the only guy that he can really afford to guard without getting torched. Jalen Green probably going to be lined up with Andrew Wiggins, but if Wiggins doesn't play because he's questionable right now, then we're probably going to see Jaime Jaquez in this exact role guarding a guy like Jalen Green for them in this matchup. And then Dylan Brooks, you know he's going to be on Tyler Hero, probably vice versa as well. And then Amon and Ware, if Ware starts, might see Wiggins and Jaquez. They've been doing weird things, but we'll probably see Ware out there and Thompson, and then Şengün and Adebayo matching up with each other. And so what do you do when you look at these matchups together? There's a couple things that I'm sort of standing out to me in this matchup. First of all, Fred VanVleet has killed this team. We're going to take a look at him in a minute. And if he has this matchup with Duncan Robinson once again, God bless. He's probably going to continue to eat. Jalen Green's going to be a stay away because he's got the worst matchup, and he's always going to get the worst matchup. And whether it's Wiggins or whether it's Jaime Jaquez, he's always got the best defender on him for the Heat, right? Whenever he's played them, I'll show you his numbers in a minute as well using Props Madness. Terrible head-to-head numbers with the Heat here, rather. And then Tyler Hero, it's going to be a stay away for me because he's going to get the best player here in that Brooks matchup, right? So when Tyler Hero's is guarded by Dylan Brooks, you do expect him to get more points than assists. He's had a really good game against them already this season, so not too much to talk about with Tyler. I'll probably end up staying away from him, to be honest. And then I can't do anything with Ware and Amon because I don't even know if they're really going to start, mostly because Ware on the Heat side is often just randomly not started because he hasn't been that good really in the second half of the season. And then Amon Thompson probably starting, but again, can't confirm that until we know tomorrow because of the fact that he's coming back from injury. They might want to ease him back into things. And then for Şengün and Adebayo, both of them going to be in there, both of them playing full minutes. And I'm going to kick it off with Bam, looking at this props madness stuff for a bet that I'm liking for tomorrow. And the bet I'm looking at here for Bam is going to be an under on the dimes. And we have this at 3.5 right now. Shoot, we're going to get this at 4.5. And I am very happy to take this at under 4.5 or even potentially under 3.5 for plus money for Bam. But you see on the season, he's at 4.3, right? This team right here for the Rockets, if you look at their stats, number 1, limiting assists on the season overall. Number 3, limiting assists to the center position, which obviously is Bam's spot. Obviously, Bam is a much better passer than most centers, so we got to give him that grain of salt. But when you look at this head-to-head stuff, the potential assists are just not there. And we always got to look at what the potential assists are to understand how many he really could have had, right? And if he's only had 4 potentials in the first game, you don't like him to get 4 assists on 4 potentials. That's for damn sure. You usually look at about 50%, 50 to 55 of those potential assists turning into real assists. 4, 1 dime in the last one. If you look at last season, he had a game with 6, but he had 6 potentials. Again, an outlier. When he has 6 potentials and 6 dimes, if he gets 6 potentials, you expect him to get about 3, maybe 4 assists, right? So again, this would have been a game where maybe he gets 4 in real time, but the 6 is an outlier. And then 5 to get 3, which is still a good percentage. You'd expect that. 5 potential assists is not going to be enough for him to get 4, and hopefully for us to get 5, because I think we're going to get the assists here at 4.5 before long. You see when this is at minus 175, minus 160 or whatever on some of these books for the over, this is eventually going to tip over into 4.5 as the books keep pushing that number upward until they go up a full assist. The other guy I mentioned here in the matchup data is Fred VanVleet, and specifically, I like his assists. Now, if we look at the head-to-head stuff once again versus this team, earlier this year, 14 potentials to get 6 dimes. Nobody really missing in that game, just Tari Eason as the only real rotation player that they were missing. Not really going to impact Fred on the dimes there. Looking back at last season, same team, right, with similar defense. Looking at this one, 16 potentials to get 7 in the first matchup. In the second one, 16 potentials again to get 8 assists versus Miami. And we're getting this at plus money 5.5 because on the season, Fred's only at about 5.6 assists per game. So it's not like he's even averaging 6, but this is a great matchup for him and a team that is the 17th limiting assists and 22nd limiting assists to the opposing point guard, which is clearly Fred in this instance. So he's going to have that easy matchup like we talked about with Duncan. If you want to take the points, he's also got a great history of points against this team. He went 6 of 17, but you love the volume, maybe not a great percentage, but he doesn't even have to hit a high percentage if he's taking that many shots. And if you look at last season, similar scenario where he had 32 on 22 shots and 13 shots to get 13 points. So he is not shooting a good percentage against this team, but he's got the best matchup. Again, it's going to be like Duncan or whomever really is just the worst defender. Maybe he gets some Tyler Hero, another minus defender. There's just not enough good defenders on the floor with this sort of depleted Miami team for them to really have enough to also guard Fred. So with just the potential alone, the potential assists alone for Fred, really liking his assists in this one. If you want to take the points, great, but the assists are going to be a bet for me. Over 5.5 is going to be great at plus money. Jumping into the Pelicans in Minnesota, go ahead and give this video a like if you're getting anything out of what we're bringing you here. All the free stuff on YouTube, much appreciated. Goes a super long way to support the channel. Also, do want to make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we are going to be starting to have some live shows here and there again. Have more on that in upcoming episode for you guys. But let's go ahead and jump into this game in Minnesota and talk about these matchups real quick. A couple of things I wrote down. You see CJ McCollum, he's guarded by Jaden McDaniels. We just saw this matchup a couple of days ago, and we're not going to have any injuries. Again, we saw fully healthy squads in the last one. Going to have fully healthy squads in this one once again. And this is the way we started last time. Should be expecting them to start the same way again. McDaniels on McCollum, Conley and Alvarado guarding each other, and then Zion and Randall. That's a big matchup. Ant is actually guarding Olynyk, and then when Olynyk is subbed in for by Bruce Brown, it's Edwards on Bruce E.B. So those are going to be the two guys that he's guarding consistently. And then you see Rudy and Missy guarding each other, and Missy was actually pretty impressive the way that he scored on Rudy in this last game a couple of days ago. But the things that stand out to me here is I'm going to be looking at some CJ unders. Talk about that here in just a sec. McDaniels, one of the best defenders. We'll see exactly how CJ did in this last game against them. And nothing much for Alvarado and Conley there. Alvarado usually actually does try to defend, like double down on other guys and sort of be that go for steals, which has left Mike Conley open, which is why he shot such a good percentage catch and shoot shots in this last game. I think he had 16 points just a couple of days ago against this team. But the really interesting matchup there is Zion and Julius Randle. And that's going to be a bet that's going to definitely impact how I'm going to play this game. A couple bets that I have here, probably a fade of Julius Randle. That's at least a lean on the rebounds. He didn't have a very good game rebounding last time because it's pretty difficult to rebound when you're so focused on guarding this bulldozer coming at you going to the rim. And then Missy and Rudy, I kind of learned my lesson. Like I said, I'm probably not going to be going back to fading Missy. He has had a much better last few weeks or so on the season than he was earlier, and really in a good spot right now. So I'm kind of looking at this Zion and Julius Randle matchup in the same way in terms of how I'm going to bet these guys. But I'm liking an under on the boards for Zion. We might be able to get this at 7.5. ESPN bet open there, but it's probably going to be 6.5. Hopefully it doesn't go down to 5.5 boards. We saw right in this last game, 30 minutes, just 6 rebound chances. Actually getting 5 rebounds on 6 chances, still pretty much an outlier for Zion as well. Big reason for that is going to be that when he's guarding Julius Randle, he's not really going down low. The other thing that we saw in this last game, he's also guarding Naz. Both those guys are playing out on the wing. Naz is a catch and shoot guy, and Julius as more of a facilitator or a catch and shoot guy as well, out on the wing, both playing out there. We even saw Zion matched up with guys like Dante DiVincenzo. We saw him guarding Ant a little bit, and we love that for under rebounds because then he's further away from the basket, and he's forced to guard smaller guys at times because he's on the floor in big lineups. He's not really playing too much power forward or center when he's out there with Olynyk and Missy. He's the small forward. At least he's the facilitator, and he's the guy on offense who's really creating. And then on defense, like I said, he's forced to guard guys that are going to be playing out on the wing. So I like an under on the boards. But there's another bet that I do like for Zion as well. I'm looking at going back to the assists here on an over for plus money. We might get these down to 4.5 if people bet under on this, because 5.5 is a bit high for Zion in general. But he had 12 potentials in this last game, and I went back into the box score on NBA.com and watched highlights of the assists and the potential assists that he was putting up. And they're all the same reason. It's because this team has Julius Randle on him out on the perimeter. And if they try to screen, they're going to switch. But Julius Randle is also going to do his best to fight through. And even if he can't fight through, Rudy is like wherever Rudy is on the court, he's not worried about Missy. And that's another reason why Missy scored so many points last game. Talk about that in a sec. But when he's stepping up on defense, when he's on defense, he's stepping up. As soon as he sees Zion make a move for the basket, if he's got an edge on his guy and an angle to get towards the rim, Rudy's stepping up to get right in his way immediately before he can even get to the rim. So once he gets there, he's now got 2, maybe 3 guys on him by that point as the whole defense is collapsing on Zion. And that's leading to a lot of kickouts and a lot of easy lobs at the rim for Missy, which is what I was saying about Missy. Not going to be fading him, not going to try to get cute with that because he's getting a lot of open looks when Rudy leaves him to come up and defend Zion, who's driving to the rim. And that leaves a lot of assists available for Zion. So while I like an under on the boards for Zion, I do like an over 5.5 for plus 125. Or if we can get 4.5 tomorrow on Friday, happy to hit that over as well. Quick reminder, if you do want to jump into the VIP, up 47.5 units right now on the season, looking to end at about 60 before we get into the playoffs here if we can. But if you do want to jump in, sign up for any of the sports books that you see scrolling underneath me here. They're all listed in the description of the video. Go ahead and sign up, use code LYB, get all your free money, all the bonus bets, and then send me a screenshot showing me that you signed up with the code. I'm at JLBoogie on Twitter or Discord, and I'll go ahead and get you a free month in the VIP. Test it out for yourself, see if you like it, and then keep going with us as we keep making money so far this season. Pistons are in Dallas, taking on the Mavs here, looking at the matchups. Might not be the sexiest game on the night, but at least we have some definitive injury reports that we can work with. We know Hardaway Jr. is going to be out there, Toby Harris, Cunningham, Ausar Thompson, and then Jalen Duren. The way I see these matchups working, we'll probably have Brandon Williams on the Mavs and Hardaway Jr. guarding each other. Clay and Toby Harris, I think, is going to guard Clay, but I don't think Clay is going to guard Toby Harris. Cunningham is going to be guarded by Marshall, but I don't know that he's necessarily going to guard Marshall. And then Ausar is going to guard PJ. But I think PJ is going to guard Toby Harris, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then Edwards, we're going to see Kessler Edwards most likely guarding Jalen Duren. Maybe we get Kai Jones at center to try to deal with Duren, because I think Duren's going to handle Kessler Edwards if that's the case. But this is most likely what we're going to see. The reason I brought up PJ Washington not necessarily guarding Ausar Thompson, because I think he'll end up being on Toby Harris. And that's important as we look at Props Madness for a bet for him. And this is why we look at matchups as closely as we do, because you can find things like potentially a nice over on the rebounds for PJ Washington. So we've got him at 7.5 boards. And you can see here in the last game, 16 rebound chances against the Pacers only turned into 5 boards, but he was guarding Pascal Siakam. And that's not a great matchup for him on the boards and for a couple, it's mostly with the spacing. Tobias Harris is a great matchup for him to get rebounds. He's going to be standing on the baseline where Toby lives. That's where Tobias Harris plays on offense. It's the extended wing, right out by the elbow extended, or a little further down on the baseline and in the corners. That's where Tobias Harris lives. Corner threes, baseline shots, extended elbow, that whole little corner of the court. So as a result, PJ Washington, as his main defender, is most likely going to be in really good position to get boards, right? He's going to be standing right there, like pretty much on the block most of the time, waiting to get those rebounds, turn around, box out Tobias Harris, not a great offensive rebounder, and then go up and get those boards, right? While you hope that that Jalen Duren isn't just eating guys like Kessler Edwards alive to get those rebounds, which is always obviously a potential risk. But on defense, we should have PJ in really good position to get the rebound. So I love the boards for him. You can see in the last matchup they had, he had 13 boards on 17 chances. Similar situation. I mean, we actually had Gafford out there. No Luka, no Lively. Obviously, neither of them playing in this one. And no Gafford and no AD, etc. So he is going to be basically the best rebounder on the floor alongside maybe sometimes Dwight Powell. Not a great rebounder in and of himself, but the rebound chances last time came, again, from his matchups, guarding Toby Harris, guarding some Cade Cunningham as well, but I don't think he's going to be guarding nearly as much Cade in this game because they have Najee Marshall, who I do think is going to be doing the bulk of those duties, and that's the reason I actually don't like the rebounds for Najee Marshall, which I showed you with the matchups. If I expect him to be the primary defender on Cade for most of this game, then I'm not really liking the boards versus the Pistons because he's going to be guarding the guy shooting the most without not being in position to go get those boards, especially because Cade is out above the break for most of the game, right? So not really liking the boards for Najee Marshall, but liking the boards on an over for PJ Washington. Might even take him on a nice ladder to get 10 or a double-double, something to that effect. However, I do have an under for PJ as well, and that is the assists for him. We can see he's at 2.5 here. But this might give better odds for us. We got -135 to the under for 2.5. Let me just show you what's happened since he came back from injury here a couple games ago. He played 32 minutes against the 76ers. He had 3 potential assists, two assists. Against the Pacers in 38 minutes, 0 potential assists, 0 assists, right? I think that's what we're going to see here again. Maybe he gets 2-3 potential assists, not enough to get 3. Like he would need 6 to 7 potential assists to get 3. That is not something that he's doing very often. He had a couple games before he got hurt where he had a few like 9 and to get 5. But even these games where he had 3 potential assists, he had 3 assists total. 4 potentials, 3 potentials. You see this other game against the Pistons that we talked about. He did have 6 potentials, but again, slightly different situation where there were a few better guys to score, first of all, and there were other guys that were helping this offense flow, which it's not anymore. It's really just PJ, do your thing or catch it off the spot up. He's shooting a ton from down low, though. He's not really like standing out on the wing and passing the ball around the perimeter like he would normally do if Luka was around. He's really just cutting to the basket and trying to get in down low. Doesn't really lead to a lot of assists for him. So against a team that is in the top 5, 6 limiting assists overall in the season, love taking an under on his dimes here for PJ. If you think about it, you parlay those together, you get nice negative correlation for under assists over rebounds. Looking at Memphis, they are in LA playing the Clippers, and just looking at the matchups real quick, Kennard, Powell, I do think we're going to see that be the matchup with Powell guarding Kennard. Not sure you're going to get Kennard guarding Powell, though. We'll probably see Desmond Bane rather on Powell, but we are going to have Chris Dunn on Desmond Bane. So we'll just kind of switch those guards in terms of who's guarding whom in terms of on offense and defense. And then Jalen Wells and James Harden probably going to be guarding each other the whole time, back and forth, each on each side of the court. And the same probably for Jaren Jackson Jr. and Kawhi Leonard. But I do think we're going to get some more Derrick Jones Jr. in this game, and probably some Amir Coffey as well, so that you can make sure you have the size to handle Triple J, because you've also got 7'4" big ass Zach Edey out there, who's going to be going for probably about 25 minutes against Zubac in this game. And if you look at the last matchup here, that's what I'm really eyeing the guy who's had the most trouble against the Clippers for this Memphis team. And that would be the Rook, Zach Edey, who has not had much success against his team. And we have him at 8.5 points rather here. I think that's a great under for Edey. This is just a very, very tough matchup. If you look at the 2 games he's played against Zoo, played 27 minutes in the close one, only went 1 for 8, actually took 3 threes because Zoo doesn't want to go all the way out there. Made one of them. Those were all of his 3 points. And in the other game, didn't even take a 3, had 4 attempts from the field, no free throws, 4 points, 20 minutes. They got blown out. don't think they're going to get blown out in this one, though. I will say I do think they're going to have a good game. I don't think it's going to be because Zach Edey is having a good game. I just don't think he's going to be able to go up against a team that is, they are currently 3rd in defensive rating, 6th limiting points in the paint, and they are 3rd limiting center points on the season because they're awesome at limiting putbacks. They're awesome at limiting post-ups, and they're awesome at limiting the pick and roll man. And if you stop all those things, then Zach Edey's not getting points. Those are the only ways that he's scoring, especially when you don't have Ja out there to really help him, put him in position to just catch easy lobs at the rim, right? There's definitely a nice correlation when Ja is on the floor with Zach Edey. He averages 2 more points per 36 minutes. So that's a good amount. That's a significant number right there, mostly because the attempts for him are a lot easier when Ja is just driving to the rim like a cannonball, and then draws the entire defense with him. And as good as Desmond Bane has been at getting assists and getting into the lane and all that with Ja off the floor, it's not going to be the same. And this Clippers team is going to be honed in a lot more on Desmond Bane than they otherwise normally would be if Ja Morant was available. All right, appreciate everyone's time. As always, don't forget, you do want to jump in the VIP. Got an opportunity for you to get in there for a free month. So go ahead and check out all the stuff in the description of the video to make sure that you don't miss any of this action. And until we see you next, happy betting.